I think Dubuisson summed it up as well as anybody could have, Frank, dispatching 3 major champions, Bubba Watson, Graham McDowell, and now Ernie Els. A lot of respect, obviously, for Ernie Els, and somehow he was able to overcome that, and now he faces a man he wouldn't have grown up watching.
Exactly. He was 1 putt away from being 4 down on the 7th hole. Just 1 putt away. That went in, and the rest, well, it's a totally different story now.
That interview with Victor Dubuisson, as compelling as any shot that we saw today. A very emotional victory for him, taking down a hero, a golfing idol of his in Ernie Els.
He tried his best out of there, but that was the one sort of crisis or mini crisis he had today. He tried again, left-handed, but it was to no avail. But it didn't take him long. I mean, this was so important, this length of putt, to just stay in front.
He seemed to hold a number of those today, but I just always felt he had a little bit more in the locker, and he did a little extra gear to go to if required.
So it was back to 3 there. Things looking pretty grim. However, the one bit of daylight for Ricky Fowler when he saw Jason Day doing that, and we thought maybe it was going to go all the way back to all square. Have you seen enough in Ricky Fowler's changes to his swing this week to think you feel that he's going to be a force this year?
Yeah, like all swing changes, they always take time. But certainly there's not as much movement, there's not as much drop to the inside on the downswing that he's had in the past. And the backswing as well, too, seems to be more on plane. So, yeah, I think Ricky Fowler has got a big career ahead of him, there's no doubt. A lot of success to come his way, I'm sure.
At this point, he's just 1 down with 5 to play, and we thought he was going to come on a bit stronger than that, but he just didn't have his best stuff.
He did a couple of goes at this chip across the green. But as I say, I think Jason Day be familiar in these kind of surroundings, in this kind of golf course, running firm and fast and imagination around the greens. It is very similar to some of the old style golf courses that you see down in Australia that Jason would have been brought up on, and particularly around the Melbourne area.
Well, you're not going to get into the final with putts like that going astray. So 3-2 the win for the Australian. He's in the final now, having missed out last year. How much is his confidence a part of his game in match play?
He's confident, isn't he? He's got a real confidence about him, a confidence in the way he plays the game. I mean, he knows himself he hits the ball better than most people. That's obviously given him confidence. He's contending a lot in majors. He hasn't broke through yet and won one, but he's getting close. He knows he's getting close. And as we say, these world events sit right behind the majors in terms of some of the top tournaments in the world. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him going on and winning this, and maybe a stepping stone to winning majors.
Well, if he is to win this, he has to beat Victor Dubuisson, the Frenchman who just burst onto the scene in Turkey towards the end of last season, and he keeps on doing it. Let's hear from him with Tim Barter.
Victor, your first ever World Golf Championship, and you're through to the final. Tell me how that feels.
It feels great, especially because this morning I was not feeling comfortable. I didn't sleep very well, and when I arrived at the golf course, I don't know why. I realized I was in semi-final of the World Golf Championship against NES. Well, I'm a big fan of him, so I always been watching him, winning majors, and I was not feeling as comfortable as the round before, and that's why I had a poor start. Like I made like 3-4 very bad shots, and then I tried to focus again in my game, and I knew I had to play my best golf, and it's what I did, and I proved myself that my mental is very solid.
We thought one of the crucial turning points, if not the crucial turning point, was the putt you hold for a half at the 7th when you were 3 down. Is that the way it felt to you?
Yeah. From the 5th hole, I knew I had to hold like kind of every putt, to come back in the match. and then I found the motivation to stay focused, and yeah, as I said, today was a really mental golf for me.
You came down the last hole all square there. How much pressure are you feeling at that stage? You said you felt nervous early on.
Yeah, on the 18, I was feeling okay. The fairway is not very tight, you know, so I was feeling okay on the tee. Then the second shot was very tough today. It was difficult to place the ball on the right spot of the green. I've hit a good shot, but you know, with the pressure, with the adrenaline, I've hit it like 2-3 meters too long, and yeah, I knew I was gonna have an impossible putt, and this was probably my best shot of the day, the putt on 18, the long putt.
No Frenchman has ever won on the PGA Tour. You have the chance this afternoon to make history. Talk about that for us.
Yeah, I will not think about that, because that's the reason why I didn't start well today. So I will just have a quick lunch, and who am I playing? Who won the match?
Sorry, who won the
other semi-final?
Jason
Day. Yeah, I will play against Jason. Yeah, very solid player. I know he's not the kind of player who gives hole. You know, he never really miss like a shot. So it will be a good afternoon. Yeah.
Congratulations, good luck for the Sun.
And this caddy, there's Team Day, Team Dubuisson.
Dubuisson équipe. Well, it's a full house, losses on halves, hasn't won the hole yet. Yesterday they played one day they played the short hole, 40 yards long, and he's tugged that, and that'll go down the bank a bit. Not too hard from there. I mean, if you're going to miss this green today with that pin, that's about it. And you begin to think like this, and eventually the course gets to you. You know, you're looking at where to miss it.
Well, he was the former #1 amateur in the world. We know that he won the European Amateur in 2009. And in his first WGC event, hasn't he done well? Recently broke through on the European Tour. It's been a meteoric rise for that fella there. And he looks comfortable.
Well, he certainly comes from the right part of the world. Born in Cannes, lives in Antibes.
On the previous hole was
one of the great sort of flesh spots of the world down
so
there.
it's either going to be a cross.
Traffic's a bit rough.
Right now it's all down. Yeah. Okay.
Some good golf courses. A lot of them laid out by the English. It's never lost this hole, but it's big enough when you look at from the camera immediately behind it. But it is a small target. Look how well he's played that, and pitched it just over the left-hand side. Might run off the left. Not quite.
Gorgeous lie. And a little upslope, then over the top to where the hole is cut.
One difficulty is there's such a lot of upslope to here, and then it flattens out, and that made that a little more difficult than if you got the upslope at the beginning and then a long spell. So he's got work to do there, but it's a flattish putt. But it is untidy, and I was surprised with his start. I thought this morning he probably was a little.
Just a 3-wood for Jason Day. Oh, it's good now. Very good now. Got a super firm bounce out the rough. It's all going Day's way.
Such is the volatile nature of match play. Day will be well aware that he's just got to keep doing what he's doing, give himself as many birdie chances as possible. When you do make a mess of a hole like Victor's done at the first, it's only one hole.
Well, that missed the mighty kick. It would have gotten the fairway. He can reach from there. It's lying all right. So difficult to make yourself hit it left.
Fourth of else, having missed the fairway off the tee.
Good shot.
Not as good as he could have done from there. Downslope off the bunker goes almost right up to the hole side. So no real flat part of the green to land the ball on.
Fortunate enough to get hold of Jason Day's golf bag while he's having a little bit of light lunch before the final, so let's have a look through. I know you guys always like to see the sort of equipment these players use. Driver first of all, 10.5 degree as usual, the bungalow on a stick, massive head. Carries this one about 305 in these conditions at altitude here this week, so a club he's used to great effect this week, hitting it a long way and also very straight. 3-wood, 17.5 degrees, nothing particularly unusual about that. Then we get into the irons, a set of 2 down to pitching wedge. Got different tailor-made cavity back irons there. These have a slight rubber insert into them just to deaden the vibration of the shot. Down into the wedges, only 3 wedges in Jason's bag, a pitching wedge, a 52 degree and a 60 degree, which again he's produced quite a lot of magic with that through this week. Putter's quite interesting. Let's take that one out so you can have a look at that. It's the same style of putter that he's used for a little while, but this caddy was telling me that this week they've gone for one without a line on it. Normally Jason has a line on the back of the putter that helps him line up, but he's been a little bit distracted by that line recently, so he's taken that line away. And again, he's held some crucial putts at crucial times in these matches, so this one at the moment is very much a friend, probably his favourite club in the bag, as caddy told me. Now, other important things that you have to have in your golf bag: sustenance. You need sustenance. So let's have a look down in here. It's a green and gold box, Australian box, peanut butter and jelly. 2 of those in the bag always. Every round has 2 of those in the bag. Very important to get that sustenance on board. One final little twist. Always marks his ball with an Augusta National marker. Little plastic marker, only costs a penny. Always marks his ball with that. Superstitious about that, never without one. Jason Day's clubs. Hopefully you found that interesting. Good luck to him this afternoon.
Well, that was just before they teed off in the final round. Him having a sneaky look at both the finalists back. And first to play here at the second, the approach of Victor Dubuisson.
The recoil. Loving the recoil. Cut more. Terrific shot. Awful lie. But to get it there from the right-hand rough takes some doing.
He seems to have adapted very well to the rough here in the United States, which is very different from rough back in Europe. He seems to have got that shot where it's almost the intentional fluff and comes out nice and soft.
He said in his own words he spent a lot of time this week off the range but around one of the chipping green areas, trying to practice from that very grass to become proficient. And if you look at his catalogue of short game shots last couple of days, brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. What about the lie? Not too much down? No. Okay. Microphone? Yep. Lovely.
He won't be 11th in the world rankings for long.
Feel it there now.
Marvellous tee shot. Just down the left side with a hair of draw, because it's a fairway you drive across. 3-wood, 354 yards, leaves him an iron. Also heading a touch left. Maybe okay.
Jerks underneath his rib cage, and then the chunk of cheese popped out through the air because he was a goner.
Real hero, Clint Eastwood. 83. I think it's fantastic that you are so aware that that's happening to someone and then know exactly what to do.
And the tournament director said he couldn't believe that a guy of 83 could jerk him up in the air 3 times. He got the guy airborne 3 times to do it.
Caddy and player had a good chat and worked it all out. Not quite the back tee, it's the one down from the furthest tee, so it's a little lower, not quite so elevated.
2 more yards, it's stone dead. That super shot. The swing must feel awfully good to him. Every time he looks up, it's flying at the target.
It's got a lovely length of swing, Jason Day. It's quite economical on the way back. More than 3/4, probably 7/8 in length. Then a tremendous generation of speed flowing towards the target. Has to win, I think, more often. He should have won more often than he has right now, but very young man at 25.
Yeah, he's just in the prime of life, isn't he? I think golfing prime time has come down in age instead of going up. I think these guys that get into mid-20s, they need to be doing it when they're this good, and they are.
Almost 2 years younger for Dubuisson. Victor almost the other way around, full backswing and 7/8 follow through. What a great shot. Horrible start, 5-6, hardly hit a shot in the right direction over these first 2 holes, and then produces that when there's hardly any room between the
Fowler victory. That came at the 16th when Ricky Fowler hit a brilliant tee shot to 6 feet and 3-putted it. And sort of handed it over.
He was thinking a 2, wasn't he? That was it. He was just thinking a 2, not thinking of a 3. Had he been on the other side of the pin coming up the hill, it may have been a totally different proposition. But if is a huge word, not just in golf, but in life in general. Took many of these from exactly this part of the world, on the side of Dub Mountain, over to Qatar, to the Doha course there, and they survived for a wee while, but they're not looking quite so healthy now.
Iron for position for Victor. In amongst the divot marks. Very hard sound off that club head.
You gotta wait.
That might be bunkered. Come on, turn onto the target. After Jason Day's shot, that might be quite good. We'll see. But it's small, that little area there, and slopey.
FedEx Cup summary for Jason Day. Story so far. Will he be right up there into 10th? Probably replace Patrick Reed. He's got off to a winning start, as has Stadler.
Couple of grains too many before the ball, and now that's a devil of a job to get that close.
Work to do at 4 of these matches, but that will happen very soon. We'll pick up the story here at the short par 4 4th.
Jason Day. Hard to stop this. It'll run away. Mistake was the tee shot. I mean, with an iron, he shouldn't be going in that bunker. And still it goes and goes and goes. And now it's got another 10 yards to go.
It's the one thing I hate about this golf course, the fact that all the greens are up in the air. And it's the same examination all the time, that is to try and keep the ball in the highest part of the green, where many of these holes have been cut today. And this really wasn't a bad shot. good connection there. Look how the face is looking at the ball for quite a long time after it. Didn't maybe get enough check on the second bounce, but he's just about further away from when he started.
Because we'll see the same thing at Pinehurst. Balls rolling on the greens and then off the slopes and away they go.
I'm okay with that, Roper. The greens there are very much flatter than they are here, and they're not as big as these ones, so they have to be a little flatter, but strange thing to happen to a pitch there from a top player.
That was a duff. Very wide, he plays those shots, very wide, shallow arc.
That's what happens when you play them fairly stiff-wristed. You're not really going to get much of an angle into the back of the ball. It's going to be very similar to that of a fairway shot.
Steve Stricker plays his pitches very similar way, and if he gets a bad run, gets a lot of lies into the grain, can catch him heavy quite easily.
Day's misfortune, however, good news for Dubuisson.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, the shot he hit now looks really, really good. Just trickle this down to the hole, and he can move on to the 5th. He's not going to rush it.
It's 6 o'clock.
But this has to travel about 12 feet, and then it will take care of itself after that. Because halfway along it drops significantly down to the hole. That wasn't that good. There's just a little crack in the door here for Jason Day. I mean, it would be disaster for Dubuisson if he doesn't win this hole. And that putt he's just hit has given impetus today. All of a sudden this could mean something.
Thing is, you don't win a hole you think you should, and it stays with you for a hole or two, stays in your mind. A hole of 15 feet and it's uphill, you can give it a firm rack.
Well, you see, that's the magic of match play, or the menace of match play, if you're Dubuisson. 5 in the end for Jason Day. Never in the hole. And he's going to feel like $1.5 million if he gets out of this one with a half.
Still a putt to win the hole. There's a lot of positives here. And the way he's holed out, you rather fancy him to go ahead and knock it in. Bit extra pressure because he would have stood over the first putt thinking, I really should win this hole. 2 putts and that's the end of it. Lost the first, lost the second, won the third, and this to take the match back to all square.
Oh, well done. Mental strength. Little dynamo. Well done indeed. On Sky Sports, huge events coming away, starting with, of course, the first major of the year, the Masters, April the 10th from Augusta National. Then we move to Pinehurst number 2. We've talked about the shape of these greens and the runoff areas. We'll see a lot of that at Pinehurst. Phil Mickelson, hopefully, will be winning that one to make it a career slam. That's June the 12th, August the 7th, the US PGA Championship from Valhalla. And then, of course, we top that year, if it's possible, with anything else, the Ryder Cup, Glen Eagles, September the 26th. We've got Paul McGinley in the studio alongside David Livingstone, watching every shot, particularly from Victor Dubuisson, who looks like Bruce now. He's probably done enough to make the side.
Oh, I think they were talking if he got into the semi-finals, he'd done enough. So I think he's there. Very much looking forward to Pinehurst, because along with courses like Oakmont, old courses like Oakmont and Carnoustie, you could hold an Open Championship there on those courses tomorrow without doing anything to them. They'd look after themselves. There they are, 70, 80, 90 years old, and still wonderful tests of golf, like on a Monday morning.
And that's the routing of the golf course. Top right of your screen, you see 15 and 16, the sort of annex from the rest of the course, really. But it's so stark, the green and the desert. It's quite dramatic.
It's a nice little loop, that. I mean, you don't go and stand in the mountains and watch it, but it's a lovely little, almost an arena. Once you come off 13, there's 4 holes that go round one another, and then the 18th up there, and it makes this course, particularly for this type of event. There's no saying in golf. I played badly enough at the start, and I dragged him down to my level, and it's been a little bit of that with Victor Dubuisson. Appalling start. Then it's a good shot, holds the putt, and lo and behold, he's very difficult to play against.
No, he's clipped that onto the green from that bunker. That's a brilliant shot. We saw Jason Day not happy with his drive. Saw a couple of people legging it down the left-hand side into the scrub, and this is a penalty drop. So it must have been unplayable.
Well, you've got a little more than a 50-50 chance. You hit it into this stuff, you might be fine. Otherwise, you might lose your golf ball. And you certainly can't go into these bushes and play them. They're full of lethal things. They've even got a type of cactus here where the little needles leap off out of the bush and onto you.
The jumping choya, they call it.
Jumping choya, yeah. So he started elegantly. He started very elegantly. So he played really well. Played well enough to see off Ricky Fowler, and started well this afternoon. But then one mistake at 4, and it's amazing how one bad hole and a couple of shots that don't work out, and you suddenly forget what good golf looks like or feels like.
He seems to be quite concerned about his backswing there, but he had options there with the drop. He could have worked it in his favour, so he was absolutely clear. He was in the rocks at 9 this morning. And all sorts of problems there. Played a backhanded shot into the cacti.
But you feel over the 4 or 5, 6 rounds that he's played that he's played more steadily than almost anyone else in the field. Fewest errors. And now he's had a couple in a row.
Well, they played 4 holes. They haven't had a half yet.
Not going to halve this one either, I don't think. This is 3. His opponent's on the green in 2. And there's certainly evidence of that 4th green. These greens are getting firmer and faster. I mean, they haven't had a drop of rain all week, and they are, some of them, upturned saucers made of china.
That's heavy. That's not going to make the distance either. So short right for Jason Day. Struggling here, big style.
And another bunker that is, if you're going to be in one of the bunkers, that's the least. 4th shot. And a brilliant one it is. Rather like the last, he's made a 5 somehow. Which is great match play technique. Always make your opponent win the hole.
Well, Victor Dubuisson was on the front of the green. Great shot from fairway bunker. He's played his 3rd. So as we reveal the rest of the green, we'll see what he's looking at.
That's a little naughty from the American broadcasters. They didn't show us that. It's only 2 balls really are following. But you don't get on that quarter of the green where they put the pin, then getting it stone dead is getting increasingly difficult.
Well, Victor won't mind if he's always got a 10-footer to go further ahead. Those are the putts you don't mind so much.
But he seems to knock them all in. What about the one on the last green? It wasn't 10 foot, but it was still quite a curly one. He seems to have built in him the great match play things. He holds the awkward ones. McDowell holds them.
I think think he's got an inner sense of self-worth, you know, a certain built-in arrogance that you need as a top sportsman. You've got to think that you're the real deal if you're going to end up being that. And I think Victor has got plenty of it. Now, can he just pop this one in? Thought he got that.
In 5, the match is all
He
square.
thought that was in.
It's not brilliant, but it's interesting. And his experience carried him through to the penultimate match. The only good thing about this is Dubuisson hasn't shown him the line around the hole.
That's very true. And the speed is still not easy to get right. Just under 25 feet. Uphill until, well, the last 6.
It's a good pace of putt. I mean, I think you all got within 120 yards of the green. Follow that.
This would be a good comparison. Well, that's Miles as well. Look at that, side by side, the two of them. Amazing drives. 486 yards. Driving a wedge. You know, you look at the card, 486. Whew, that's a long par 4. Drive and a wedge. Worth looking at this. It's a one-piece takeaway. It's wide, and the shoulder turn stops when the shaft stops. Pretty neutral at the top, and resisting with the lower half as he starts to unwind. It's a very late hit. Very muscular physique. Everything poured into the back of the ball. Stays down perhaps a little bit too much. There's back strain going on there. L5 and L4 getting pinched. Are you watching, you chiropractors?
There. But it is, you know, it's turned into a real scrap as the course gets more difficult. They perhaps get a little mentally weary. 6th round in 4 days, 5 days. And I mean, you've got to look at 4 bogeys, 1 birdie and an and a par for Dubuisson. So I think he would count, being a positive thinker, he would count his lucky stars. He's only 1 down.
Well, it's a tough flag, but they're going in with such a short club. I think both men are going to have to take it on. Victor to go first.
There's an old match play crowd. I remember being involved in the early world match plays at Wentworth, and crowds lining the fairways and behind the players, kept in place by ropes. It's a nice touch. You don't, particularly when you get to this stage, don't worry about those coming behind.
That's a shocker from there.
And shockers get dealt with very severely with these greens. It's an interesting course that is playable and usable by the high handicappers, but can pose problems to golfers of this quality. But 1 down and you'll go first. You usually be really looking forward to that. Get it in 10 feet, 12 feet. It shouldn't have been any more than that. And you open the door for a man like this. No surprise there that he knocked it past the pin with his opponent. Down in the valley and going to have to work really hard for a 4.
A poor approach with a wedge. He's got some work to get it up and down in too. And pretty much all the way around this golf course, if you're short by some distance, you're always pitching up to where the pin is cut. It's never on the same level that you're standing on. And that does give the players a few problems. Ball lands on what appears to be a horizon, and they're getting the skip and jump and the spin just right. Not easy.
He may have gone first, but he's got the strength absolutely spot on. 1 up at the minute, and that should be a 4. That will probably be conceded. Yeah, yes, it has indeed. Something a little longer than that, and there's another great phrase I always remember. Just mark it, I'll keep it for negotiating purposes. It was the other thing you used to do in Madrid.
And there's a horizon view for Dubuisson. 3rd. Skinned it.
He did a bit. Well, another one, the drive is very similar to the 7th. Can you cut enough off the corner? And it may well be they're going to have to take 3 woods, otherwise run out of fairway even at the very end of that.
Yeah, it's got another sporty green. Tim Bastard investigates once again.
Par 5 8th hole, 576 yards, but at this altitude very definitely reachable for the players in 2. And if you can get the ball coming into this green today with the flag in the back right corner with a low trajectory and running up, there's definitely an opportunity to use the contour to help the ball run back towards the flag. Obviously it suits a fade shot in that the flag is in that back right corner, but if you overdo it and cut the ball over here to the right hand side, there's a nasty deep bunker there with the potential for a bunker shot that lands on a downslope and runs out towards the flag. And if you miss short of that bunker and have to pitch over here without much spin, that's going to be extremely awkward. So definitely if you're going to miss this green, miss it to the left and give yourself a chance to work with a lot of room. If you've missed the fairway and you have to lay up, then you're wedging into this green. This slope just short of the flag is very significant. It's quite steep. If you pitch the ball in that, it won't be going forwards. And just over the rise, it's very steeply downhill to the hole. So no bargain if you're coming in here with a wedge or a long chip shot.
Jason Day, same routine every time. Lets a couple of big breaths of air out and uses the shaft to line up on the point he's aiming at. Then he gets in. Once he does that, executes pretty quickly. Now there's a bunker down there. Needs to be careful. Seems quite confident. Okay. It's in that second cut, which can be a bit iffy. It can look better from up here than it is when you get down there.
And since he's been lucky, he was getting sort of out of control when he had a really crooked drive at the 5th, and he was able to get an up and down for a bogey 5 and get a half out of that. He might have been on the slippery slope if that hasn't happened. And in fact, Dubuisson's now bogeyed his 5th hole out of 7, so the standard is way below what it's been the previous few days. But he's still only 2 down. He's got to find his game. He's got to find the fairways, find the greens. And he's done the fairway bit. Or at the moment he has.
He doesn't want that back. Lovely tee shot from Victor Dubuisson. Not that you wish. 312 with the 3-wood, 276 to go.
It's a very good shot. But it isn't going to hold up.
That's a fair pitching examination from there.
That's what it does for you.
Now this lie looked good from a couple of thousand feet. Sitting down a little bit, he'll have to dig it out.
It's interesting, he can certainly get there. It's a case of what goes through your mind of, well, if I am slightly crooked, what's the best place to be? And you look at this 8th hole, the pin's over on the right, so somewhere on the left probably would be the best, but you're really thinking about the contours of the green, and it may be you elect in the end just to go leave it a little bit short. When you're having that conversation, you're going for it.
It's got to come out 10. It's got to come out 10 heavy. 10. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So he doesn't think it's going to go as far as it should by 10 yards.
Whoever's got the camera with the clicks has got to turn it off. Seriously? All right, over here. Come on.
Where's that going? Green is not the answer. Well, that might not be too bad. We'll pull back and see where that is in relation to the pin. And that's not the worst play. Funny enough, it can be much harder when there's a small crowd and people move in it. If you've got a couple of thousand, you don't see the odd person moving, but when there's sort of gaps in there. Now, the thing about Jason Day is he's got his nose in front. He had a slight glitch in the middle of this front nine, but his opponent, Victor Dubuisson, has really not played well. Now, what he must concentrate even harder on his own game and playing his own shots, because his opponent's in a muddle and a mess, and you don't want to get dragged into a sort of an unattractive and low-quality dogfight. If he just plays his game, he might sort of ease away and win this easily, and that's what he must concentrate on. You can be sort of suckered into sort of playing scrubby golf and hope it'll all work out. As I say, you can be dragged down to the other man's level if you're not playing, or if he's not playing very well, and you're concentrating on your match with him.
A look at the action of Jason Day. This was the 3-iron, 2nd to 8. Got a lot of the grass before the ball. Came out low and a little bit snipey, but it ran and trundled its way up to just short the green. Now he's got a birdie putt. This is a much tougher chip for Dubuisson, which quite frankly he has played brilliantly.
That's what he can do to you. He can play very ropey stuff for a number of holes, but then suddenly he'll come up and bite you, which is great match play golf. I always thought Porrick Harrington was a great match player. Certainly when in his amateur days he was a scrambler. He was very difficult to, you couldn't get a rhythm from him.
The contact here should be ball then turf. Much steeper angle into the back of the ball. Bingo. Perfect. And he had about a 4-foot square circle to land that in, to get it to kick forward and then check, which he did. Dubuisson trying to turn this match in his favour. Day resisting.
Nip ahead to the 4th green, the 10th green. Short with his 2nd, and didn't chip stone dead, and Ernie Els wins her. So that's gone to all square all of a sudden. That was a couple up not so long ago to the American.
Dubuisson's turn to watch. To see if he's going to get that opportunity to win a hole back. He was 3 down at one point this morning, Victor, and he just hung in there. He's good at that.
I haven't seen many bold and brave thrusts this afternoon, but that was one of them there. Probably going to be a half. And he'll certainly turn around and watch the effort of Dubuisson.
Funny way he bends down to replace the ball, almost side saddle a little bit. Simon Holmes likes a bit of that in the studio, a little bit of side saddle action on the chair.
Well, then he's very good at those.
Memberships from some of the players at the top of World Golf. They count on both tours. They can do that. Jason Day then, long iron.
Up the ninth, par 4, 476. But once again, it's a case of finding the fairway. You can go too far. That's ideal. That was the first decently halved hole we've had really in this 9. That pair of 4s at 8.
Now that ball to me looked like it had settled in a divot. Or a divot mark that's been resanded. It might make the second shot interesting. It looked like it was bingo right on top of it. Sometimes it can be deceiving from that high camera.
On his longer shots, he seems to do a lot of work, does Dubuisson, with his hands. It's not a sort of complete swing. It's slightly sort of choked off and handsy, whereas earlier in the week he was hitting full swings. See, that's the better swing. Sometimes he only sort of has a 3/4 follow through, and it's like he sort of punched it through the air, and maybe not deliberate, but that's good. 2 good drives. And he does have the ability, however, the 2 or 3 holes he's messed up, we saw it at the beginning this morning in his game with Els, that he can switch back into winning mode. It was about here he started to have a little run. He had 3 birdies and 4 holes, which was when he really switched around the match against Els, and he came from 2 or 3 behind to 1 ahead, and that's where he finished.
It doesn't take much for these top players. They just need a little switch to go off and they can crack on. And
Dubuisson first to go. Stationary feet there. Oh, and he's tugged it away, and that's an awful spot to get into. It's another bad shot. He's really played poorly this afternoon. It's like he's run out of mental steam. And well, he probably won't be able to play it, and even if he can, he might not be able to knock it on the green. What a mistake.
And what a chance for Jason Day. 2 up, empty green. It's flying fairly straight. Well, he's got away with that. Didn't enjoy the strike or the motion at all. When you let go of the club, it's never a good one. And he's putting for 3.
Well, 2 putts from there will almost certainly be okay as we have a look. And I think you made a good point about him being in a divot, but he was at the right end of the divot mark there, so he could make a good contact. And to be perfectly honest, from a top player's point of view, if you're in a shallow divot like that, it's not a problem. You ignore it, you play with him, you're going to hit the ball first anyway. Let's get a handstand, or the hospitality unit on the left. So this is going to be a free drop, so he's got a clear line of sight. All that stuff on the left is known as a TIO, temporary movable obstruction. Top class. Well, it doesn't come into play for you and I. We don't have temporary movable obstruction on our golf courses. Now you can see what he's going to do. As it rolls away, I think he's got to play it where it lands. Runs the other way. The players quite often organise it so that it runs forward, so after a couple of those they can place it, but as he can't.
He could be stuffed here because that ball's resting against that rock. If he moves the rock and the ball moves, he's penalised. It didn't go more than 2 club lengths from his tee, so it's in play. And he's saying that's that.
Giving up.
Yep. Let's move on, he said.
3 down at the turn. And that has been a really rough 9 holes, as I say. It's just like he's run out of petrol.
But commendable, because he could have tried some sort of crazy shot with the stone there and hurt his wrists, and you know, there's a long season ahead here. He looked like he was going to lose the hole anyway, so at least he's thinking that clearly.
Well, the other thing, Rob, is of course he's going to be playing it with one of his speciality clubs, his wedges, and you might damage a 3 or a 4 iron and you can replace it very easily. It doesn't mean that much, but your drivers and your wedges and your putter are, I mean, you treat them like your children.
Maybe he thinks, I can give you a 3-up start over 9 holes, I can still take you.
I don't think he's quite in that league at the moment mentally, because he's taken 42 or 43 to the turn.
Yeah, he's going to have to turn it around rapidly, starting at the very next tee shot, because he's not hit all of them as he would have liked, and some of the irons have been loose as well. Beautiful clear air here. Have been all week long. Perfect conditions. As we look across the top of the mountains here in Marana County. This is the hole that Ernie's just played alongside Ricky Fowler.
I think they've got the wrong number there. It's this is the 10th, which is where the final has got to. And once again, you've got bunkers at distances that interfere with the play of the top players, but shouldn't come into play for lesser lights. So this is, forget that. This is the 10th. There's the 11th at the top of your screens.
Right hole, wrong graphic.
Right hole, wrong graphic, yeah.
I wouldn't like to wander through there at about midnight, having got slightly waylaid after, you know, a nice meal, a couple of nightcaps. Couldn't quite find the car, and then decide to just hack it home on foot.
You might not make it. There's some things in there, particularly in the summer. The mountain lions are not the biggest lions in the world, but they've got teeth. Rattlers?
Yeah, well, the things that rattle would be getting my attention, yeah. And whatever you do, don't fall over. Victor Dubuisson, in golfing terms, has fallen over on his first 9. Now he's got to pick himself up, pull all the cacti out, and try and get stuck into Jason Day. Whatever happens, it's been a magnificent week for him, and he's sort of emphasized what a good player he is. If people thought that his Turkish Open win was a little bit of a flash in the pan, I think he's shown everybody in the world with his play this week he's here to stay.
Three wood again. Jason Day, you can clear the bunker on the left, but stay short of the one on the right. Look at that, the distance of that. And it must be said that Dubuisson's just making it easy for him. He almost lost his game this morning. We got it back under control, but maybe it's not good. That's another enormous drive.
Nice rhythm from Dubuisson.
Distinct contrasts in some of his long shots. There's that one where he finishes his follow through, and lots of others where he seems to hit it at the ball with the hand and stops about 3/4 of the way through, and they're the ones where the bad shots come from.
Yeah, it's a little punchy with the iron sometimes, and he's a little punchy after his play on the front 9. Things just have to get...
And the pin on the front right hand corner. So maybe not the worst thing to be here, but he's got to start getting at least some pars. See there, that one's choked off. Those are the ones that have come to haunt him a little bit, and he has, unfortunately, he's had an in off the cushion there with one of the spectators, but it's not helped him that much.
You never know, things like that turn out to be a good break here and there, but you're right, the ones he's sawing off that follow through, there's no full release, and he sets the club so early on the backswing, he needs that release.
Up for a 3.5, and Elsa's gone from 2 down to 2 up through the middle holes.
We're talking about the pace of play earlier and how deliberate, I guess, is the best word to use for Jason. I think if he can speed things up, he can become the complete player. If you look at his driving, his iron play, his neatness, his tidiness around the green, he has it all. Sometimes just takes a little too long to do it. A lot at stake, of course.
See, this is what takes the time. Funnily enough, when he actually gets there, he doesn't take too long to hit it. But there's an awful lot of, maybe you just start banning conversations between caddies and players when they get to the ball.
Beautiful swing to watch, so well connected. Turn on both sides of the ball, and no surprise, it's dispatched straight at the target.
Well, he is unquestionably being helped, but this is the difficulty, and it's been more apparent this year. The greens have been firmer and faster, the pin positions are a little more lethal. It's made for some very good matches because they're
whole side.
Yes, it's just a case of getting it on there, and gravity will do the rest. That's Maybe a little too much. I don't know, he's done the difficult bit and got the strength right. But even he, I suspect, is beginning to doubt whether he'll get his game back. A putt he's got to hold, assuming he gets the chance, because Day misses his. But whether he's in the frame of mind the way it's gone this afternoon, I wouldn't.
Front. So it's a handsome lead and 8 holes of the scheduled match remaining.
I think one of the good things about going through the turn like that, the turn can be a turning point. You know, you can put 9 holes behind you, start out on the back line, all right, I'm 3 down, and a good putt hold there, and it can change the tune of the way the day's going.
Taking a 3 wood to try and get that draw a little easier with more loft on the club. Hasn't quite got enough bend in it. Straightened up as the modern ball often does. The old Bellata ball, I think, would have turned another 6 or 7 yards from right to left with that shape on it. So here's a window of opportunity for Victor Dubuisson.
And we saw it this morning. You only have to win 1 or 2 holes, and how quickly the momentum changes. He's 1-2, lost 2.5 the other. So being a long par 5, knocks this down there past the bunkers. He can easily get to the green in 2. It's a very difficult green, even if you can get there. And being 3 down, he might as well go for it. Go with the driver anyway.
That's the one. It's quite a flat flight now. This could chase its way up the fairway by quite a few yards. Look at that, leaping forward. That's magnificent. Way ahead of Day.
Once again, the completed follow through. It's been interesting. And I think earlier in the week when he was playing well, he was hitting all the shots with the night. Now he's sort of hitting the ball at the top of the backswing.
Just over $900,000 goes to nice cool evenings and fresh mornings. Far better than it was 12 months ago, that's for sure.
Well, the great thing with Dubuisson now is he's got nothing to lose. He's gone 3 down. There's confirmation of it. And he's 3 down rather than Day being 3 up, if you understand, in terms of the way it's been played. But he can put that behind him, and he can now mount a charge if he can. And what a heroic win this would be if he could win from here.
Lovely balance at the end of it all. Started it down the right. This is lovely. Now slow down. Could have done with just a softer first bounce. It would have made all the difference. But he would have taken that. He can get down in 2 from that.
As you can see, Jason Day is only 3 or 4 yards ahead of him in 2, and it's just as difficult for him as it was for Dubuisson. A couple of holes ahead.
Second further up the hill at the par 5 13th. Oklahoma State colours, as always on a Sunday. Very proud of that, Fowler. So is everyone else that attended that university. And this might come back. This could be very close by the time it's finished.
Well, in medal terms, he's just played the last 3 holes in level par, because he's had 2 bogeys and now he's had an eagle. But else still to go. And in fact, that was good enough to win the hole. 1 down, 5 to play.
Consolation match, 2 holes ahead of the final. Never understand that. He's played this hole about 7 times this week.
Well, the difficulty is you can't fly it onto the green and stop it. So he's got to land it in the right-hand edge, about 10-15 yards short. Faces doesn't think it's that good. But it is, and he's pitched it in the one place on the green that can work. He's hit it into the upslip. This is going to be 3 feet away. If that. In the hole, I don't believe it.
What a hammer blow for Dubuisson. The pressure's now straight back on his shoulders. Just another quality shot from a high quality golfer.
It was a quality shot, but it had to pitch on a sixpence, so there's a degree of fortune in that, but he did what he had to do.
Well, remember this morning it went the other way for him when he looked like he'd hit it pretty much on line, and it shot away to the left-hand side. But that's the bounce that Dubuisson needed. A little softer, trickle up to the top. It looks like it's going to stop there, and then the sheer weight of the ball and the angle of the slope very nearly taking that in for an eagle 3. Shot of a champion, one feels.
I think the sort of look on his face when he hit it, I think he thought he'd hit this a little too far left, and to get a steady, beautifully played. Another 4. You may see a totally different Dubuisson on this 9 holes. He has that great golfer's ability to put bad news behind him.
He's played some amazing pitches. Sets the club beautifully there. Heel of the left hand just in line with the top of the shaft. And look at the face. Never flips over, never opens up. Loft remains constant all the way through. Secret of great pitching. If your hands are flipping from right to left, you can rest assured that the club face will be doing the same.
So he'll feel hard done by when he gets out of this with a half. Dave was saying that's 1 more hole out of the way. It'll be 3 up and 7 to go. And of all the putts on this green from this distance, this is about the easiest, straight up the hill.
That's the best half of the week. What a third shot.
Possible.
Well, next up for them is the first par 3 in the back 9. Similar to the third, but rather than the water on the right, you've got the desert there, which goes right up to the right-hand side of the green, joining it just about in the middle.
Like the ski jumps from Sochi, they're not going from the very back tee. You can stretch this right up the top, and certainly even on this tee is the highest point on the course. 219 off the back. And one of the fun things is they don't always go off the back, and sometimes they'll put the pin in the middle of the green and go from the very back, and then they'll come forward a couple of tees and give you a very tight pin position.
No, we can do the into the slope. I was thinking about hitting the full 7, but I mean 77. Not too sure if that'll get there.
77 and 7, it's 84.
You get old, mate.
Yeah. Yellow! Yellow shirt!
I'm going to hit a cut 6. Cut like that. You're flight at cut 6.
You talk about moving the tees and the pins. They did that so beautifully in Abu Dhabi this year.
Okay.
Each day they moved some tees up and tucked the pins round behind the bunkers, gave them more loft so they could get some control on the ball, and then went all the way back, put the pin in the middle of the green. Players enjoyed it too, I think.
Oh, we know what he's doing. He's taken a little bit off a 6-iron, cut it in, and right decision, and it's going to get better as well. Much better.
He's tuned in. Jason Day, he's focused, he's confident, seeing the shots before he's hit them. going ahead and executing them quite beautifully.
Very hearty, that little handheld camera looking through the gap there. But no encouragement this time from Dubuisson. He's got a knuckle down, try and get inside that, try and get a 2. If not, half in 3.
Started it a little left, trying to cut it back. This is quality golf. The way they played the previous hole, the way they've hit the tee shots here. Very little room over that desert that just... First for the 2, Dubuisson.
Oh, what an excellent effort. That was coming in all the time, right at the hole. It just veers off to the right. Things not happening for him today. And, well, a great chance for Jason Day to go 4 up. Hard to miss this one.
Jason will have watched this, and you would swear that's coming into the hole, and then it starts to straighten out. So he doesn't want to give the hole away. It's no more than right lip and coax it down the hill. But the last 2 or 3 feet is straight rather than the turn continuing. That was a perfect camera angle to see that. Still giving nothing away. Could easily be 3 up as 3 down.
As he keeps casino chips in his golf bag and sometimes uses them to mark the ball, and comes from a part of the world, Cannes and Mougins and Monte Carlo, synonymous with gambling. And you mustn't give anything away on the green bays.
Right lip, almost impossible to leave it short.
That, believe it or not, went the other way. So hole is halved. Hole's running out, 3 down and 6 to play, but let's remember it was only yesterday.
For Jason, maybe trying to take the left-hand bunker out of play. He catches one, he can get it up just about that distance. Doesn't like it. Could well be in the sand. If it's short of that, the primary rough goes up to the edge of the bunker. Either way, not good. So maybe another chance for Dubuisson. See if he takes the driver or stays with the 3-wood. Driver it is.
There you are, he's been 2 down and 3 down. And 3 down again in, well, what we call the final. They like to call it the championship match. But he's not been that many down this late in the match. Hold your head, that's fine, that's lovely.
Can reach with an iron from there. So advantage Dubuisson at 13th. Those who back Jason Day will be sitting in the favourite armchair thinking they've cracked this here, but we've had so many shocks and surprises this week that nothing's over in this until it's actually over.
No, and he was installed as favourite on Friday morning, so, or Saturday morning, so he's justifying that so far, and I don't think he's got that out, and if it's got the legs it's going to get to the bunkers, but I don't think he'll even do that. So that was a bad lie, that's all he could do with it, but not a bad spot to be coming from that far back when the pin's that close to the front.
He's got a backstop there, so he can play this one over the top of the pin, which he'll need to do to take the slope at the front of the green out of play. Beautiful angle for Dubuisson. And right now he needs an approach shot out of the top draw.
very few good shots today, and going to hold up. That's not a bad spot.
It's 8 o'clock.
Decided to have a smash at it, and he's done okay. He's got it in a reasonable area here. So third shot, trying to get this one in tight and put the pressure back on Dubuisson. Rob Lee's back alongside me.
Thank you, and yeah, let's see what he can produce here. Lots of ways to make a four. A couple more feet of spin would have helped a lot. Maybe a little opportunity for Victor. Hard to imagine you've got so many or so few holes left to play and you're actually going to turn Jason Day over, because he's one impressive unit.
Spends a lot of the time on the golf course on his own. You see other players walking alongside the caddy and maybe saying a few words, just trying to relieve the tension. Has a quick chat with his caddy just to decide they're both on the same wavelength, and then away he goes. Very much a loner on the golf course, which I think is quite a good thing. You're alone with your thoughts there. And he's okay here. He's got two ways of playing this. He can either chip this onto the edge and on line, or he can take it a little left of the hole and let that slope bring it back. I think this is far from finished, Rob. The way things have been going all week. He's a fighter, this lad.
And he's a good chipper. It's a natural thing to him. He could chip this in. That's excellent. Excellent. So, a question posed for Jason Day. And trust me, Jason Day doesn't want to lose one hole.
Go to 16, where Fowler has this for a half to remain all square.
Drilled in the back for Ricky Fowler. Good battle between these two. Two more holes to go.
I think they've done very well. I said earlier, it's so difficult when you've had the disappointment of losing in the morning. Great credit to the sport. They've gone out there and hit some great shots. Their scoring is, in actual fact, better than the scoring in the final. I suppose you could say they're more relaxed. They haven't got the pressure on, but there's been a lot of pride in the way that Fowler and Els have competed in that consolation match. You're right about Day. He just wants to tick off the halves and tick off the holes until his opponent finally runs out of them.
Well, the Frenchman's going to make a birdie here, so this has to go in if he wants to keep his buffer zone.
A real hammer blow if he found this one on the low side. He was only a yard out with the third shot and he caught the back. Dubuisson. Lovely birdie from the Frenchman. Timely one at 13, and they've made their way across the desert to find the 14th tee.
Just a fairway wood, that's all for Victor. Has he saved his best golf till last in this final?
Hold it, don't run too far. Well, it's first cut, but it's fine. Ricky Fowler took the driver in the semi-finals and went right through the end of the fairway, through the rough and into the desert. Was very fortunate to have a straightforward shot. There are some cacti in there. 3-wood also for Jason Day.
It's powerful. It's really powerful, his action. Healthy thump. Also lovely. Just settling behind the tee shot of Dubuisson, so he'll be playing first.
He's played very well this afternoon from the word go. Bashed one down the middle of the first fairway. He's hit a lot more fairways this afternoon, I think, perhaps, than he hit earlier today. First win in Texas, the Byron Nelson Classic. As a young man, 2010, he was 22 years of age. By the borough of Irving in Texas, not too far away from the center of Dallas. That's the quality of golf that took him on to victory. Fairway. And from 1-2-1, it's just a wedge for the Australian. You know, Robert, looks ordinary, but you can pitch this 6 feet short of the hole and you can finish 5-6 yards off the front of the green. If you're going to make a mistake, it has to be long, otherwise that ball's going to come all the way back to the base of the hill. The difficulty here for Dubuisson, first cut, he's got to trust the strike, the flight and the spin.
Needs to stop somehow. Just stay there. It's trying really hard for him. He's all right.
Not always been good. He's been a bit ungainly at times, simply because of the speed of change of transaction from top to down. But he's got a wider base, a wider stance, so that supports a turn on both sides of the ball. A lot of good things happening in the game of Fowler.
Didn't exactly go for it. There aren't that many holes left for the Frenchman.
It was good and bad, the second shot. The only thing that held it up from going backwards was the join of the apron and the pin. The apron and the green, rather. And then you've got the putter on the apron. Ball looks like it's sitting down.
Shouts of shot, Ernie with the driver. On the tight line again. Excellent. You really do take it on if you're landing your golf ball there. Perfect. Do you sense he needs a birdie?
Pin 10 on at 18, 10 yards on from the front, 7 in from the right side.
That's the dreaded good. I'm not having that.
It's a hole out of the way for Jason Day. He'll be the happier. And after they've come up and over the hill, they'll get a good view of this one. One of the really good holes in this golf course, the shortish par 4 15th. 2:15 to the end of the fairway. You know about the solitary bunker. We think it's good. What do the players think of it?
$15 for me. Drivable par 4. and it comes at a stage where, you know, it could be a pivotal hole in the match. So, you know, 15's a good, not really a risk or reward hole, because everyone will go for the green, but it's a good hole to, you know, to maybe, if you could make a 2 on it, to, you know, to win the hole and get a little bit of an advantage going into the last few holes.
I think it's a hole that can change quite a bit the going of the match, and it's just, you know, you have to, you don't necessarily get there, but even if you don't get there, you need to hit a straight drive, because if you end up in that bunker, you know, the opponent might win the hole with 4.
I think that was a key moment for me, my up and down on 15 when I beat Paul Casey. Played one of the nicest lob wedge shots I've played in many years there.
It's the shot of a champion, that.
I think every course should have a drivable par 4, and that makes for some good excitement. It's in a good position of the layout, you know, being towards the end, and if you come there feeling good about your drive, then you can try and whip it on the green and hopefully turn around a match by that.
May have a big decision on the deciding of the final this afternoon, because Dubuisson's got no option now. He's got to get the driver out there and take that on. For Jason Day, he has the option perhaps of laying up, but laying up is not good today, because the pin is right up the back edge and there's nowhere really to land the ball with almost a full shot. You need to get up by the edge of the green and work your way up the green with a pitch and run, as we saw Ricky Fowler do so beautifully in his match against Els. Both of these players managing to get a birdie 3.
I can see Paul McGinley, when he catches up with Victor Dubuisson, saying to him, now listen, you're in the Ryder Cup side, 2.5 to 3 feet, you make them putt. You are not going to give any putts of 2.5 to 3 feet. Not in my captaincy.
Maybe Paul's a much nicer lad than that. But I agree with you, that was 2.5 feet, and at this stage, 2 down, you want to see them in. Jason Day had just lost 13. You know what it's like when you lose a hole in match play and you lose the next one, you think, hang on, I need to arrest the slide here. Anyway, it was a half, no change. Dubuisson with the honour, and out with the driver.
He's killed this, absolutely killed it. Needs a big bounce. Oh, it's fantastic. He couldn't have hit that 1 foot further. Flusher.
Have another look, just watch the recoil here. Oh, look at that. And that's the shape. The solitary bunker that's some 30 yards short of the green. Started on that, turn it over from right to left. And if you can just carry that bunker, you can catch the back end of a downslope. There's not much between them. I think when Day catches one, he's probably a little longer than Dubuisson. And he's also out with the driver. No choice now.
Flushed it, he pitched it on the green. That's a big hit.
Now he's got a problem, because these sprinklers could well be in his way, and that's just about where he wants to land that. He might just be able to, would have been nice to concentrate on both of them, but the seconds happened a few moments ago, and quite simply Fowler has this to finish 3rd in the Accenture.
So a chance for Ernie Els. Second shot deserved a pop at the putt.
It's amazing what adrenaline does to players. Dubuisson pitching that right into the face of the front of the green. Day carrying it all the way onto the putting surface. That's the lie the Australian has. And you see the sprinklers there, they might just be in his way. May influence what he has to do rather than what he would like to do.
he's going to be second to go. Dubuisson coming up the green, up the tier with his eagle putt. Day stalking. Meanwhile, up at the 18th to extend the match. Oh, well done, Ernie Els. Superb birdie 3. It's been a long week. He's in his mid-40s, and he's got to go on.
And no doubt happy to go on. What a great professional Els has been since he burst onto the scene at the start of the 90s. So their week not over, and neither is Dubuisson's. Find a moment of magic, spark of inspiration, and knock this in for an eagle.
He's travelling well, and from where he was, good approach work. Guaranteed 3, because Day's pitch is not easy. And it's a case of you never know. If there is a guy that can hit a good pitch shot from here, it is Jason Day. He's got a vast array of shots from around the greens. But this one causing him problems. There are the sprinklers. Just about on the pitching point if you're going to kill it and let it release down to the hole.
No option but to lay that face open and make sure he got it up and over the sprinklers. Not sure he could have played a little pop shot the way the ball was lying, and I think that was the main problem. He would want to land it maybe in the first cut, maybe in the second, just to kill it, and couldn't take the chance of hitting any of these sprinklers. Little unlucky. Tee shot deserved better.
He's a good putter though, he's a bold putter. Victor in a holding pattern on the 15th green. If this doesn't go in, it'll be squeaky.
Thinking ahead, having a look at the pin at 16. See how that one's positioned. He'll have it on his pin sheet. Never think about these things until the time comes, and that will be the next shot that he will hit. Now will he go to that 16th? 2 down or just the 1 down?
Right in the middle. Brave as you like, Jason Day.
Edge. Front left-hand bunker very much in play.
Be the one. That didn't need much more. It really didn't need much more. Good shot.
Else hitting another sparkling iron shot like the one he found at the last. Big pitching wedge, 165. Again, the problem of not playing the shot from the shorter grass, and that's just disappeared.
Head all the way back to the championship final and the 16th tee. Jason Day.
Get in the wall! Oh, no. Get further left. Go! Go left.
In his position, I think that's a very sensible shot. And hope that Day doesn't birdie either one of them. 3 wood at 17 for Dubuisson.
Needs to hook a lot. And that is in the sand. Not ideal when you're 2 down with 2 to play.
We've seen 3s from there though, Rob. If you find the base of the bunker and you get a decent lie, it's a pin that's fairly easily accessible from the right side, not so much from the left. So a decent lie there, you never know. The angle will certainly be good, but a nice flat stance and the ball sitting up would be ideal. Also get it to stop a little quicker than from the fairway.
That's right. That's interesting. Where's this going to finish? Hit driver. He's short in the hole. Again, lied.
Well, one says he's not far away, and you saw he nearly stopped on the same level where the pin is, but it ran a long way past. So this is quite an awkward putt to judge the pace of. You'll be thinking that a 4 might well be good enough, and he's going to get one of those. That will be conceded. He's 3 of his out in level par, no better than that. At 1 over.
It was a bad start for Dubuisson. I'm sure the previous match had a lot to do with that. Sometimes you need to just sit down on your own for half an hour and reflect on the victory in the morning, and then start to switch on the concentration and focus on what's going to happen in the afternoon. And Day had a much longer time to do that than Dubuisson, and I think that's how Dubuisson came out of the blocks with a 5 at the first and a 6 at the second, and rather handed both holes to his opponent.
And of course, by getting not only to the final but getting even to Sunday, he's exceeded his wildest dreams and ambitions. He's achieved an enormous amount this week.
He's brilliant at that. He really has got a gorgeous putting stroke. The pace of it, the flow of it.
This will be one of those punchy swings. Short and follow through. All the hit at the ball.
just about where Ricky Fowler was. He may make the three Rob was talking about in exactly the same fashion. He's asked the question of day.
.110 front. I think at least 5. Outside we should balance that. So no, I think we could land at like 110, between 110 and 115 should be good, yeah.
Okay.
Just straight at it.
Yeah, love it.
Everyone remain really still after he hits the shot, please.
Nice shot.
Wonderful, wonderful shot from Jason Day. Shot of a champion, maybe.
It's where trust comes. Everyone thought in Turkey was at a one-off when he took the driver on the way around at some of the tight holes. That was his strategy all week. It worked beautifully in the final round. It looks like Dubuisson is here to stay. And Jason maybe with his biggest victory in front of him.
It's 9 o'clock.
Lovely pace.
Oh, stay of execution for Dubuisson. If he can knock his putt in, he takes it down the last. It's a very clear situation for him. Again, it's all about line, this one. Very much downhill to the cup. It's almost going to be fitting that he knocks this in, and it goes the one extra hole to really see who comes out on top.
Day looks on, and it's a must-make putt to take us up the par 4 18th.
Just drilled it straight in the back. How about that for a 3? Unlikely as it was from the bunker, we go on.
A little quiet, heads down. Dubuisson will have the honour. That might be a good thing if he can find the ideal place. Whether he chooses to go up the right-hand side, unless that bunker there, or take it up the left. Right gives you the best angle for the second. Else and Fowler hit 2 sparkling drives up here earlier, but both with the driver. Be interesting to see what choice of club that they come up with. They perhaps influenced by what will happen to Dubuisson.
One thing's for sure, you cannot get close to this flag if you're not on the fairway. It's on that horrible front section that's such a small target. We've seen players come unstuck all week long when it's been there.
It is the 3 wood. And this is not playing safe. He can send this 300 yards out there, even though it's uphill. It's a little cooler now at 4 o'clock in the afternoon as it was when they started this final, just around midday. Avoid the middle bunker, the bunker in the middle of the fairway there at all costs. It's a deep one.
That's a super looking swing. Down the middle.
Yeah. Get a new ball, mate. Sure.
Definite Australian twang there. Lend me a ball, mate. And he's got the first bit right, Dubuisson. That's what he'll have for the second. Beyond the upslope, so you can send it 4 or 5 yards past the hole, and even left of the hole, the ball will gather from left to right down to the hole side. There's no future whatsoever short, and not the easiest putt if you send it into the middle of the green. So playing this hole for the 3rd time this week.
Turned it over, right to left. And a nice check bounce, that's fine. Clattered up the left-hand side with a long iron.
Picked it nicely off the top of the turf. That could well be the hardest 2-putt on this golf course. Dubuisson, his day, his tournament, is far from over. If he can find the right distance with his second, a 4 might just be good enough to win this hole.
Hard to factor in the adrenaline and how much extra it's going to go. It was a great swing by Jason Day. Oh dear. Well, it's in the bunker. That's the best place it could have been, because anywhere left of that, and it's histoire, as they say in France.
From that angle, the pin back there, so his footmarks are a long way away from the hole. Not standing there with his arm bent and his feet next to the hole side. He's a good 6-7 feet away. Yeah, we're thinking down in 2, and this title is his.
That's a very good try. But it will run and run and run. The right play.
Yes, if he left it short, he's got the same problem all over again. Got the door open for Dubuisson. He'll be trying to push it further open by getting this one up within 3 or 4 feet.
If you were to go in that bunker and place the ball on the lie that you dream of, it's the one he's got.
get better. And it's beautifully thought out, it's beautifully executed. And for the second consecutive hole, the Australian will have a putt to win the extension. Should he miss it, this man's given himself a great chance of extending the match and taking us down the 19. Lovely shot, Rob.
Fabulous bunker shot. This was 10 out of 10. Really well thought out. Had a good look at it. Had a lot of time to assess the shot. And he used it wisely. Just look how far left he's playing. And then letting the slope and the grip take it down towards the target. Handsome bunker shot.
He has got the most wonderful touch and vision around the greens. We've seen him play all sorts of shots, and he seems quite happy, hands forward, pushing the ball in low. And as we saw at 17 last evening, I think one of the shots of the week from just off the edge of the green there, quite happy, laying the face back and flopping one up in there. Lovely variety from the Frenchman. Just under 10 feet. Day for the championship.
That you would have thought that Jason Day would make on 18, that wasn't the one. And what, 10 or 12 feet, leave it short, putt for the championship.
Reaction of Day. He knows he's let a chance go at 17 after a great recovery shot, and he's let another chance go at 18. But from the minute that second shot went to the back of the green, that was always going to be a tough two-putt. And what an opportunity now for Dubuisson. No Frenchman has ever won on the PGA Tour. If he knocks this in, he still has a shout.
Superb up and down for Victor Dubuisson. Never knows he's beaten. And Jason Day's nervous.
We said on the 17th tee he would need a pair of threes, and he got the first one. And you thought after Day had gone long there, he would have got himself in quite tight there at the 18th and given himself the chance of a three. But once he was handed the opportunity by the first putt of Day, he played one of the bunker shots of the week. A shot of great invention and vision. And he deserves to be hanging on and in with a chance of what is a very prestigious title. Well, it's not for the first time they've seen the first this week. And if there's no result here, they'll go over to 9, then they'll go to 10, then 14 to 18. And it might take that long before someone finally breaks, or somebody finally finds that moment of inspiration that takes you across the line.
All the momentum is with Victor Dubuisson now. He's got out of jail these last two holes, and I think he comes to this first tee with confidence. And you have to admire the green design of Jack Nicklaus, because you make that last green a fairly flat affair and the game's all over. And because of what he put in there, the steps and the roly-poly bits, it was absorbing. You just could not take your eyes off it.
9 foot 3 inches, the putt of Jason Day. That was all he had to do, cover that distance. He had the line beautifully, right in the jaws. And that will infuriate him, because had he knocked that 2-3 feet by, it wouldn't have made any difference. But to leave it short will be sitting in the back of the mind, and he'll have to get rid of it as quickly as possible. But he was 2 up and 2 to play. He's been hauled back to all square. And 18 holes not enough to decide the final.
Maybe you're seeing why Jason Day hasn't won more than he has. Because no doubting the quality of the player, the ball striking, the short game, it's all there.
The great champions have that killer instinct, which he's probably lacking at the moment. And another 2 or 3 victories, and that can all change. You can then go out there and expect to win. But the more times you are in contention and you don't get to cross the line, the more you begin to question yourself. But remember, he's only 26 years of age. Dubuisson 23, coming up 24. And both of these players have their day extended. They'll probably be a little tired as well. But they've crossed up and over the hill from that 18th and made their way to the first tee. Spectators ambling down, back down the fairways there to get a view. There's certain paths that cross the desert. You really don't want to be crossing the desert unless on the paths. Never know what you might come across there. But they're making their way down the right-hand side of the first. And Dubuisson hasn't enjoyed this first hole today, neither in the semi-finals or the final.
Would he take a 4 right now?
I don't think so. I think he's got the wind in his sails. He would look at 16 and think, I've got a tough task. Even tougher at 17, 2 down, 2 to play. He's still in it.
And that's a better looking swing. So guaranteed to look at the green with his second. And getting on with it. Victor Dubuisson trying to keep his man on the rack.
Be interesting to see how Day reacts to losing 17 and 18. He's got to put that behind him.
Guys, you're gonna have
Easier
to
said
move.
than done at times.
We can see you. Move. Everybody. White shirts, move. White shirts here, move. You okay?
Such a polite chap.
When they started in the semi-finals this morning, the sun was a problem. Coming up over there in the east, it's made its journey throughout the day that it does every day in every part of the world. Now beginning to get quite low over in the west. Day a little agitated, a bit of movement in between him and his target. Can't get settled and rattled, no doubt, by the 5 at 18.
Two big puffs, exhale of air.
He's done very well. He's regained his composure. The cacti there, you've got to be very careful with the fingers. You get any of these thorns in there, it's a hospital visit. That's what he has to do, though, try and advance it to a place that he can get up and down into.
The question of backswing, can he get the club into this? Through the bush he's going to have to come.
Has to be careful in the sense here that
he's going to try to play this. He's pulled an iron.
One thorn.
And like Dennis said, like Carl said, the ball is just sitting up in the cactus. Looks like he's going to try to play, Fred.
That's just remarkable.
Played it very quickly and played it well. Onto the green, up by the cut. That is remarkable. That is remarkable. C'est magnifique. Within 3 feet of the cup, he could still win this match.
That is so stupid. That's so good. It's unbelievable that he hit that shot. He didn't even move. There was an electrical cord right there that he didn't even move, and he hit the cord and just ripped it right through the cactus. And the beauty was that he had the backstop behind the hole, so if he hit it a little hard, it would have come back. Jason's now reeling, because I don't know with that lie that Jason can get it that close to the hole. I don't think there's any way he can hit it that close to the hole unless he hits the flagstick.
That is, I don't know what's more amazing, the fact that the ball ended up there. I know it's more amazing. The second, that third shot there, because The ball shouldn't have been there, and he just, like Fred said, he stepped up, he pulled the club, stepped up, and knocked it on.
Let me put this in perspective. For those that are driving right now and they're listening to what we're saying, think about that shot that Bill Haas hit at 17, the Tour Championship out of the water. This one might be better. That was unbelievable how good a shot that was.
And now the pressure back.
Bit of a chunk and run from Jason Day. He'll be putting first. He must be in a state of shock, because over the back of this green, the first green here at Dove Mountain, there's no price. Worth another look. It's, well, just extraordinary. Actually, just to get the club on the ball through all that tumbleweed and stumpy scrub was amazing. To get it to finish there, beyond ridiculous.
They pop them in and really don't want to see this final lost. I want to see somebody winning it, because the quality of golf they've delivered, that's what the final deserves. I don't think this one will be short.
A real test of concentration now for Jason Day. I think that's magical. Real test of nerve. Concentration was put off at the first tee. You're going to have to watch the shot of Dubuisson from the back of the green, who was dead and buried.
Went in at some pace, didn't it? Left lip and firm. So once again, the tension, the pressure swings over to the other player. And the pressure of this is it's all or nothing. Onwards they go. Well, I've seen some up and downs in my time, but I don't think I've seen one better than that.
I think that takes the biscuit, considering the situation. Playoff, WGC on the line for the first time, first win for a Frenchman on the PGA Tour. It couldn't happen what he did there. I'm not sure I've seen it.
Seen as you're a non-believer, another look.
Well, just look at this. They had the temerity to have a bit of stun on it when he got to the green, and just stopped 3.5 feet behind the hole. That's fine, just there.
Yeah. Everyone on the path there, just stand, please. Thank you. Thank you.
And with an iron, I suspect he's got to guide it left or right of that central bunker. Nailed it. Down the right-hand side and up towards the end of the fairway. Glorious golf shot from Jason Day.
Late in the day when it looked like it was going to be Jason Day's golf tournament.
Yeah, Earl, I'm sorry, I'm done. I got nothing else to say. That's just unbelievable, that shot he hit right there. And then Jason, you had to think that that you had a chance to make a bogey and probably win the hole, at least if I get it up and down. And now all of a sudden, he had to make it. You know, he had to get it up and down out of that bunker. He was on the upslope, but he hit a great bunker shot. Saved par. Both players hit good tee balls here.
Yeah, I know you can't think that, but if you're Jason Day, even in the bunker, you're thinking up and down, I win, and even if I make bogey, I still may have a chance.
Yeah, and I don't know if Jason walked all the way over there to really look at that lie. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You see it, it's not over there in the grass, and you see it semi in a bush. You got to think, well, I'm looking pretty good here. Freddie, you are out there at the 9th hole, and it looks like Mr. Day is set to play, and he got a perfect lie this time around.
And he's got a great angle as well. He's in the right-hand side of the fairway to a hole that's cut all the way in the back of the green, 34 on and in the center. His number is 182 yards. Oh, he's going to bring in Colin here for a little more consultation. I saw his wife, Ellie, his little boy. They're both nervous. Now Jason recommits to this shot from 182 yards out. Mentioned this flagstick is 34 on. The green is only 38 deep, so you just have 4 paces separating the cup from the fringe. Day is ready. Here's solid contact, likes to play a draw, starts that out on the right-hand side, asking for it to turn in, lands it to the left of the cup, just through the green, but only about 18 feet away. Imagine he'll be able to get putter on it from there, although the ball did run right up against the first cut.
Yeah, I think he can still get putter on that. At the very worst, it'd be a bladed sandwich, just like a putt, and that's actually a pretty good look, but that should have a little bit of pace going down that hill right there. Could be pretty quick.
Well, Victor Dubuisson's golf ball ran through just into that first cut. So a little different lie for him. Let's go out to Fred.
181 yards some 3 hours ago. He hit it into the desert from this position. This a one-handed finish as well. Sometimes that indicates little flip at the bottom, and he did it again. Once again, he hit that ball into the desert, almost where he was, as I mentioned, some 3 hours ago.
Wow.
After all that. Well, maybe what we saw last hole is exactly where he needs to be. Almost automatic up and down.
I don't know. I'd move all those rocks where he's going to drop this ball. There are issues there, and I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that under the rules of golf. Can you just clear out a bunch of rocks in an area where you think your ball is going to end up? That might be an issue.
That is exactly where he was. And same area early in the day. And it looks to be desert trouble again for Victor Dubuisson. We'll check that lie in 60 seconds.
Trek and McGinnis on tap.
Doug Ford joins us right now. When you won the PGA Championship, it was still match play. What do you remember about your win in 1955?
This was just a poor shot, but amazingly, that's gone almost in an identical place. He was unlucky the first time. Maybe he'll be a little luckier this time. But maybe he's used up the 9 lives